Hi, I'm Flo Selfman from Words a la Mode. I'm a copy editor, a proofreader, and a PR consultant. You wouldn't go to a business meeting wearing clothing with missing buttons and loose threads, would you? Well, submitting a less than perfect manuscript is no different. Before you print, publish, or submit, make sure your work is the best it can be. Look at the submission guidelines on any agent's website. Without fail, one of the specs is to make sure it's edited not only for content and story, but also for grammar and punctuation. Fail to do this, and you can guess where your manuscript will end up. You can't create a perfect manuscript all by yourself. Every manuscript needs several sets of expert eyes. Read the acknowledgments in successful authors' books, and you see how many people they thank, and not just for support. So, here are a few helpful tips for self-editing that can save your editor time and save you money. Punctuation. I could talk for hours on punctuation. I love punctuation, but I'm going to give you a rule. This is not a real rule. This is a rule that some teacher told me long ago, and it works. When in doubt, leave it out. What I see in so many of the books that I edit is, and just Facebook posts and every place that we see writing these days, is so much over punctuation and incorrect punctuation. So particularly when it comes to commas and apostrophes, when in doubt, leave it out. And that's a good non-rule rule. Do put periods and commas inside quotation marks. In American Standard English, that's how we do it. And there are computer commands that can help you change this if you habitually put the periods and commas outside quotation marks. But please, if you can, put them inside the quotation marks. It will have a cleaner manuscript. Colons and semicolons, however, go outside quotation marks. Question marks can go inside or outside, and it depends. If you have any question about that and you want to know more, contact me at Words a la Mode, and I'll be happy to fill you in. It's a little bit complicated. Do not put an apostrophe before the letter S. A lot of people do this every time they see S at the end of a word. With the apostrophe signifies a contraction or possession. It does not signify plural. There was a funny sign that somebody posted on Facebook. It was for a store. And oddly enough, the possessive on the store should have said Goodwin's apostrophe S, but it didn't. What it did say, however, is an apostrophe after the plural of everything that the store featured. So chairs was spelled C-H-A-R apostrophe S. Recliners was spelled apostrophe S. Beds was spelled B-E-D apostrophe S. And sofas was spelled S-O-F-A apostrophe S. So just leave out all those apostrophes unless you know that you're talking about a possessive. And always use double quotation marks for dialogue. Now, the British system does it the opposite of the way that we do. So if you have dialogue or a quotation, use double quotation marks. Again, it's really a pain for your editor to have to go and change them because you can't do it blankly because you might be changing the wrong one. And only use single quotation marks for a quotation within a quotation. Do learn the difference between a hyphen and a dash. A hyphen is one character in length, and it is a connector. So it's connecting the two words or the two parts of a word. Some words are actually written with a hyphen. But if you want to separate two items, you use a dash. And the dash is 2 characters wide, or sometimes 3. We have M dashes and N dashes, but I'm not going to mention that now. Do leave only one space after a colon or after end punctuation, which is a period, an exclamation point, or a quotation mark. Now, some of us who learned to type a long time ago, we learned to use 2 spaces after end punctuation. or a colon. And it took me quite a while. It took me probably more than a year to actually get used to seeing and typing one space at the end of a sentence. And speaking of exclamation points, don't use a lot of them, and don't ever use more than one at a time in your manuscript. If you're writing a note to a friend, fine, you can say, great, fabulous, I'm glad you got that award, and use 6 exclamation points if you want. But in professional writing, use them very sparingly. The words should convey that strong emotion. But if you have a really strong emotion, you can use an exclamation point, but only one. Now, a few points about grammar. Again, I could talk for a long time about that, but I won't for now. Watch out for misplaced modifiers. One of the funniest commercials that I've heard on the radio over and over again for years, and it still cracks me up whenever I hear it, is this one, and I bet you've heard it. Why won't a plumber tell me what it costs to unclog my drain over the phone? Well, I would rather have a plumber tell me over the phone what it costs to unplug my drain. So watch out. The modifier should be the closest to the thing it modifies. Do avoid cliches like the plague. Okay, that's a cliche. Okay, or needless to say, and then go ahead and say it. Well, if it's needless to say, you don't need to say needless to say, and you don't need to say it. So watch out for these. Also, watch out for current buzzwords of the day, like woke or lean in, unless it's something that you want to 5 years from now for people to know that it was written in a particular year. Do write numbers, write them out through 100. Now, for books, we use the Chicago Manual of Style, which is a big, thick, 2-pound, almost 900-page book full of all kinds of rules that most of us will never use. But for those of us who edit, we need to know how to use it. And the Chicago Manual of Style, or CMOS, is the Bible for book publishing. And that's very different from AP Style, which is the Bible for journalism. In AP Style, you only write out numbers through 10. And there are a lot of differences. So what you see in journalism for all kinds of rules is different from what you want in book publishing. And that's a difference. And that's where a good editor can help make sure that your manuscript adheres to those conventions. Now, a lot of words can be written as one word or two. For example, every day. Now, if you can say each day, then every day would be written as 2 words. So every day I walk in the garden. Every day I visit my grandmother. A word like pickup, okay? Pickup, if it's an adjective, like John's pickup truck just was painted, then it's one word. But if you're going to say, I am going to pick up my prescription this afternoon, then it's 2 words. So there are thousands of instances where it can be one word or 2 words or a hyphenated word. And it's important to know the difference. Now, a few writing tips very quickly. Make each character's voice distinctive. You don't want all your characters to sound alike. Some are formal, some are informal, some use slang, some use dialect. Don't overdo drawls or accents when you're writing dialogue. For period novels, don't use a lot of contractions that would be more contemporary. And for heaven's sake, don't make your book too long. I see that too often. Don't use acronyms, but if you do, write out what it means and then put the acronym in parentheses, and then you can use acronyms further on. Now, a couple of editing tips. Do know the difference of kinds of editing, such as content, developmental, line, copy editing, and proofreading. You can see these described at wordsalamo.com. Do read a lot, not only in your own genre, but other genres. You want to see what good writing is like. Make sure, and also be able to recognize writing that is not so good. Do create your own word list. How often do you look up the same word? I look up acknowledge every time. I had to make a list of those. And very important, and I love this idea, for your editor, have a word list pertaining to your book. And that would include names all spelled correctly the way you want them. I've seen books where a character's name is misspelled spelled three different ways. You want a list of names, places, and for sci-fi, for example, if you're creating a world, you want that all those names that your editor has never seen before spelled correctly for easy reference. Be ruthless. If it doesn't fit, get rid of it. It's very difficult. We love our words, and sometimes we read them over and over again and say, I can't bear to cut this out or delete this character or make this shorter, but do it. Thank you so much. You can find me at wordsalamode.com.